If your heart's stuck in low elo, this might be the strat that finally sets you free. And big on the might. But today we have a special video. We are trying the monster SSS tank Garen strategy, and we're going against a Pantheon top. And what we're taking is Conqueror with Ignite and Flash. And I will link who I reference in the description of the video, Monster SSS. I've been watching his videos lately, and he's been cooking up some really good strategies. He's a Grandmaster player. Could be Master, but I think he's a Grandmaster player. He has videos where he's just basically stomping low elo games. And when I say low elo for him, it's diamond players, because he does tell you like this is a diamond 4 game, what is a diamond 1 game, and it works in there. But he's really big on playing Master Yi. All right, that being said, like I said, we're going against a Pantheon, and he probably could have killed me there. I'm not the best player by any measure. My peak is Plat 4 in Season 9. I just started playing the game again, so I'm a little rusty with certain things, and I actually been playing a different champion, but I wanted to test this out and kind of see if I could 1v9, because he put out a video recently where he's 1v9. He goes tank Garen, and he 1v9s, he wins the game. And I kind of want to talk to you guys through this video, maybe get some suggestions, and maybe even Monster SSS will see this video and he can potentially coach me in the future. But I did pretty well in this game. Ended the game 8-2. We lost pretty badly. It kind of got to a point where it was out of hand. I mean, we had teammates on the team dying 10, like one died 14 times, one died 10, one died 9 times. I think another teammate died 10 times as well. So it was getting pretty ugly, and it got out of hand. And I tried my best to carry this game. I tried my best to 1v9, which is why in the beginning of the video, I said it might work. It might be a strategy to get you out. Unfortunately, you're going to have games like this in low elo. This is my rank account. I currently have a Silver 2 account that I'm about to get the gold pretty shortly. I'm playing Zed on it. But I want to try to see if, these strategies and ways of playing work in low elo, because I know there's a lot of people out there who are in low elo, iron, bronze, silver, who are, struggling in their games, and they're trying to understand like, well, how do I win these games if I'm playing good? And this is just one of those games where, I play pretty good and team is feeding a little too much, and maybe I could have roamed, and helped. But I did tunnel vision on just trying to get my towers. And to be honest with you guys, I only want to show the game up to me getting, the 2nd tier tower. So at this point, I guess I just kind of talk about the game here. So I was trying, basically what I wanted to do is I wanted to prioritize farming, pushing him, and resetting. Well, I know that I'll be strong as he's coming back. Eventually we get a kill on him in the laning phase after level 6. And I probably could have gotten a kill on him somewhere around level 3, but because I took such a bad trade at level 2, it didn't work out. And also one of the things as well, I probably should have took W instead of E, because I realized that at first. I was like, well, if I think I took Q instead, because I think I always start E. Well, I'm not sure. I'll have to run it back. I'm just being real. But usually when I play Garen, I like to start E, just because I like to be able to put pressure on the wave and push the minions and have that wave, that lane control. I think in this matchup I took Q because I wanted to be able to do auto Q reset autos on Pantheon, because I just feel like that's a better thing to take. And I didn't want to push the wave in, because I wanted to basically have the pressure on them since I'm taking Ignite, right? All right, so taking that bad trade, maybe I could have took E and then took W, and then been able to shield the trade. And I do know that Pantheon may be a really, really hard matchup for a lot of people, because he has a point and click stun. He has that empowered spear Q. But it does a lot of mana, and then I was basically trying to time it like when he didn't have it. Like whenever he didn't have those stacks up, that's when I would want to do it. Okay. So I know soon here we're getting ready to get our first kill on the Pantheon, and like I said, what I'm trying to do here is weave in and out. Yeah, so I ignited him and I didn't even ult here because it was unnecessary because he made a mistake. He got too close and I was able to Q him and then silence him and get a lot of damage off on him, ignite him, and kind of burnt him out. So that kind of like, this is where the lane kind of snowballs a little bit. Here, I'm looking to push this wave into the tower, get it to crash so they can bounce back to me. But he decides to use the teleport here, so I'm working on it. Then I was like, you know what, let me just go ahead and get up out of here. And then I go to the bush, you know, try to recall, and then I notice that he decides that he wants to try to stop the recall. So this actually did not work out in his favor doing this. Mind you, he does end up stopping the recall while I'm under the tower here, but what he does is he ends up taking a lot of minion damage. So when I come back, a lot of his health is already gone from him tanking that full wave right there, trying to hit me with Q. So that's, you know, I wouldn't advise doing that. You know, if you're behind, just farm, you know, get your farm and CS. You know, keep your health, try to stay healthy. You know, you got jungler help and support and stuff like that you're supposed to. But we're just make our way back to lane, and so the build is basically Stridebreaker, Dead Man's Plate. I think it's a Force of Nature or Spirit Force. It's basically the magic resist item that gives you movement speed. I would say that tank Garen, the way that I like to play him, I like to play him Trinity Force, and I like to play him to Trinity Force Dead Man Plate instead, because I like having that sheen. And sometimes I might throw in an IE, but a lot of times I won't. I like having like sometimes a black cleaver in there. I was looking to get in there, try to get that first kill on him, try to like maybe start my lane off, but I was like, okay, cool, that's fine, that's fine. Also, I thought that one of my junglers or the mid lane would roam would come up top here to gank him to see the way he was pushing, and I was like, you know, I'm looking at them, I'm like, okay, yeah, they're not thinking about it, they're not even making their way here. So yeah, see, I'm making my way over, like, oh, about to get a gank, and it's like, nah, we're not getting a gank. Mundo has to go back to his mid. So we basically do the lane dance for a good amount of time here. We're doing the lane dance. We're doing the lane dance. You see us doing the lane dance, and this goes on for quite some time. This goes on for quite some time, because there's no good trades on a Pantheon unless his E is down. See, like every time you try to get a trade, he just blocks all your damage. So what I said, okay, since he's going to do that, I'll just constantly, you know, push. And now that it's kind of hindsight is 2020 type thing, I would have pushed the wave, and then I should have proxied behind him and force the jungler or the mid to respond to me to, you know, get behind me. That way Pantheon just is sitting there tanking waves, because he doesn't have like that passive like I do, and I don't think his wave clear would cost him too much mana. So that's one thing I have to work on as well, is knowing when to proxy, because that can really change a game from what I've seen. Trying to just, you know, right now, like I said, I'm just trying to not W some of his damage. Just trying to get some trades on him at this point, because, you know, at this point the wave is kind of boring. And I was like, well, you know, I'm just trying to trade on him so I can be able to dive him at least. But he plays pretty safe for the most part. He does, like I said, he makes a couple of mistakes. And I think I'm getting ready to get ganked here pretty shortly. Which is why he played up like that. Yeah, I think I'm gonna get ganked here, pretty sure. Because in one part, Briar shows up. But no, she's bot lane right now. I just saw her cross a ward. What was I explaining earlier? Like I said, trying to gank, trying to trade the Pantheon with his shield, it becomes pretty tough. So me trying to learn when it's good to just go ahead and proxy, and I wanted him to like try to hit me, and I didn't want to take too much damage here, so I was basically in my head, I'm saying, okay, well maybe I can, you know, get him to hit me a little bit, but it was actually hitting me a lot, and then I can maybe dive him on the tower. So ideally, I guess you kind of want to silence that, you know, silence him from being able to do his shield. But like I said, everything's pretty much shielded for the most part. But I had pretty much full control over this lane for majority of the game. Even when they sent help, I was able to turn and get my second. I think my second kill was on their jungler. But as you can see right now, the score is looking pretty bad. It's 5-10. Like I said, this was absolutely an example of what a low elo game looks like. And I can see that Briar is on the way and that she is there. Now, glad I saw it the last second and didn't hit. So I flash out and she decides to keep chasing. So I Q her, spin on her, ignite, and then get the last auto. She pushes me back in her direction that she's trying to run into. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'm cool. And then I realized, like, hold on, he's low on mana. I could probably kill him. And, you know, he's pretty much exhausted on mana. Q, E, spin. He flashes and he's able to get away. I dodged the Q. And we're looking pretty good in the lane right now, basically. So like I said, guys, I just want to show you up to, because I feel like most games are decided by, you know, if your team is not feeding, most games should be decided by who gets the tower first, technically, especially at the top lane. One of my mistakes that I used to always make is I would always go for just tier 1 and then try to trade lanes with my bot lane. And maybe I should have done that in this situation, but I decided I would just try to like focus on getting the tier 2, because, you know, I've been watching a lot of high ranked players and they're like, you know, get tier 1, then tier 2, and then start, you know, kind of like putting pressure on middle and rotating, going into the jungle, messing with their jungler. Because, you know, when you're kind of roaming, you're kind of walking around with nothing to do after you got the tier 2 tower, you know, you get involved a little bit, and then you're always able to look top to make sure the enemy's like pushing the wave in, and then you can respond to it. So it kind of gives you enough time to kind of like mess around and get back to the lane and keep the tower up and, you know, be active and, you know, participating with your team. But yeah, but this game absolutely gets out of hand, and, you know, in my head I'm thinking, you know, being positive, you know, I got chat off. I turned chat off. I don't talk to the team. I used to. This is one of those things I learned about playing lead, that chatting with the team doesn't really do anything. Just communicate by using pings, and you know, just to avoid, you know, any type of flaming, and because it doesn't do anything. All it does is drop morale and make people not want to play the game. And even if they're wrong, and, you know, they're never wrong, you know. So it's just like they're never wrong. And I just want a nice little trade on them. But like I said, your teammates are never wrong. They're always right. They're better than you, even if they're 0-10. You know, or, you know, you ask them why they're feeding, and they're just, oh, I'm just having fun and I'm just enjoying the game. And to be honest with you, I'm convinced that the player base for this game may not be as high as we think. There have to be bots in this game, and I'm talking about like legit bots that just get queued up in your game. Like I really think that. All right. We got our third kill here, pretty clean. But I think there's a lot of bots in the game, legit bots, like ones that Riot just allows to just queue up and be in your team. All right, so first tower is down, and usually I kind of consider that as a lane 1, which I won my lane. So imagine this was you and your team wasn't feeding super hard, you would have a really high chance of winning the games. And I know, you know, maybe the conversation is more so around, well, you know, my team's always feed and that won't work. And to an extent, I kind of agree with you. to an extent, I kind of agree with you, because you're putting in, you know, all this hard work by yourself, but then it's a team game, and you can't, you can't 1v5 them, and this is supposed to be tank Garen, so how am I supposed to like kill the whole team by myself when I'm basically kind of, I'm building hybrid for survival and, pushing lanes down. Now, what I what I probably should have done here, I probably should have checked the dragon to see if Pantheon was at the dragon pit, and it looks like he was. So I should have checked to see if he was and went top instead of going mid. But I thought maybe I could sneak and get that tower really quickly. Unfortunately, was not able to, but it is what it is. Briar tried to ult, she missed. And then when she knows she missed, she just backed off. And here I'm waiting for the echo. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna sit here and wait and see if he kind of comes back. And he kind of does. And I'm like, all right, cool. So then I Q flash E. I'm not really doing but that much damage. I ult way too early, highly underestimating how much damage I can output, which sucks, unfortunately. But it is what it is. And we just continue down the lane and keep pushing. So the goal here is just basically, like I said, continue to shove the wave into the tower. I'm trying to actually get it down because, like I said, I'm trying to get involved with the team, but I'm trying to get that tower down. And it actually took me a really, really long time for us to get that tower down before I could get involved. And by the time I was able to really, really, really get involved, it was pretty much game over. It was game over. And I think I would say that I should have just went bottom to help fight the Fed Zyre down there, but I'm like so fixated on getting this tower, so that's just part of me like not being as good as I want to be in this game. I figured some help was coming, so I said, yeah, let me go ahead and just roll out here. And I took my death here, so I do take my first death here. I ended up dying 2 times in the game. I think the second time was when they were sieging and when the game was pretty much over. That was my second death. But yep. So anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this video up. Like I said, I tried out the monster SS build, and it, like I said, it works, but low elo, I don't know how well it will work, because if you can't really blow up the enemy, it does nothing for you. And I kind of already know that, but just wanted to test it out just to see how busted tank Garen can actually be. Like, can I actually 1v9? I would argue you can't, because like I said, you just don't do enough damage. And if your team is severely feeding, it doesn't matter if I could do more damage or not. Like I said, it doesn't matter if I could do more damage or not. I would have got melted if I didn't have the resistances that I had. And being too tanky just gives me I don't have enough damage. So that's pretty much that. Like I said, guys, I got this idea from Monster SSS. Please do me a big one and head over to his channel, shout him out, let him know, hey man, Cleve made a video about you. And yeah, hopefully I'll be able to get some coaching from him or something. Who knows? But until next time, I catch you guys in the next video. I'll let your boy. Peace.